Alright guys, I approve this message. That's my new shirt that my boy Steve gave me. Steve had a talk with me yesterday about basically helping our soldiers and our fighting boys and a lot of the young men on this planet. One of the best talks I've had with someone probably in the past year. What it relates to is, a lot of you may not know, but Nikola Tesla back in 1920 penned an article about why he would never marry. And he was talking about the rise of the matriarchy and how it would make a lot of men, basically have no function left in society. And we're talking billions of men. He said this in his article, that billions of men would have, no worth and would have no use because the women would take all the jobs, would take all the political positions, and would, take all everything. And there'd be nothing left for them. And what we want to do, we want to try and stop that. So I met with the director of NCIS, like the guy Mark Harmon in the TV show in Guam a few years ago. And they had a problem where they were having a lot of men that were catching STDs from, basically Chinese actors and agents that were doing this for their government. And they would infect our military men at Guam. We got a big sub base there. This was a problem, get enough men with STDs and you've weakened the fighting force. Another issue is they would use beautiful Chinese or Asian women that were, basically Chinese secret agents, and then they would become mistresses to our Air Force or, Navy officers at various bases, but especially that base in Guam, and then they would get them to, divulge state secrets and, give up base secrets, or either if they didn't do that, they'd be sending some blackmail material to the wife because the Chinese mistress had slept with the Navy officer, maybe a sub commander, and give it a, submarine commander, and give pictures of them doing something, to the guy's wife, and then he'd lose his house, he'd lose his kids, his wife would leave him. So this was a problem. We don't want that to happen. We don't want all these men to feel, disenfranchised because they have no worth. And we don't want bad things to happen to our military. According to this NCIS guy, they were looking for ways to solve this problem. And then we just have a lot of men that cannot get, companionship, and they cannot get someone that they feel loves them. So we want to try and save these men's souls. We want to prevent them from suiciding. I met with the commander of the Marines last year at a conference down here in Florida. It was for new military hardware, but he was saying his biggest problem was, his Marines were suiciding in droves. And I met with the base commander of Laken Heath a few years back, and he told me the biggest problem wasn't Al-Qaeda. It wasn't, nuclear weapons. It was the U.S. divorce courts, because the soldiers were being, sued by their wives and these evil attorneys that wanted to, destroy the family so they could make some money. Greed, that's the biggest evil in the Bible, the love of money. And these attorneys would split up these military families, and these soldiers would lose their house, their kids, lose everything. Their wife would leave them for whoever. And this was destroying his fighting will of his men. And they'd go over and see these Muslims who had this Sharia law, and they couldn't lose their kids, they couldn't lose their house. So the director of NCIS at Guam, look here. That's like a real doll right there. I've named her Madonna. And see Madonna? See, she's wearing that's the Anunnaki. David Childress talks about that from Ancient Aliens. And that's Madonna, and that's my doll. And I'm going to be going around the country with her and trying to promote advocacy, how we need to save all these young men. And there's some women too. There's some women that they're going to need some kind of doll maybe. And these dolls are getting a lot better. They've got AI systems in them now. They can talk. They'll be animated where they have robotic systems where they can walk. Back when I talked with the director of NCIS in Guam a few years ago, I was in it for the virtual reality side of it, where you'd wear a virtual reality headset, have your doll, you could, have love with it, physical sex, you could, it as an emotional companion. The problem back then, though, the virtual reality headsets were not, good enough resolution, so it was cartoonish type graphics. But I'd say with an Oculus Quest 2 now and some of the other newer headsets coming from like Apple and maybe Samsung, the quality that will be photorealistic. You'll have the doll for the physical intimacy. Look, I'm gonna be going around. Look here, got my Air Force. See, that's my Air Force logo on my RAV4 hybrid. And I'm gonna be going around and trying to get advocacy, because what we want to do, we want to save lives. And I had a long talk with Steve about this. This is like a spiritual thing. I feel this in my heart from God. Nikola Tesla was right. There's a lot of men, they're not going to make it. They're going to suicide, like the commander of the Marines told me. And, like the director of NCIS was saying, we got to save this. So if you got these dolls, no STDs are spread because you can clean the doll. So it ain't like an Asian, prostitute that may be sent as a secret agent of the Chinese government to intentionally infect our fighting men. No issue where the officers of a submarine, with our nuclear missile codes, maybe he's getting blackmailed by a Chinese mistress, a state agent of the Chinese, because it's going to be a robot, it's going to be a doll, it'll be a VR headset with virtual reality, AI girlfriend on there. There's movies that's covered this topic. A recent one was Her with Joaquin Phoenix, and then there was Ex Machina, had Oscar, I forget his name now, but the actor that was in the new Star Wars, he's going to be in the new Dune. Had the girl that played the new Tomb Raider was in there. She was the robot. And so this, some people think this is weird. They think it's freaky. But I had a PhD professor of artificial intelligence when I was in school. I have a degree in computer science. And we had a lot of, spiritual discussions. Now, he did not believe that these robots could ever have the spark of life that God puts into biological carbon-based life. I disagreed with him. I think we're going to have a future in the very near future where silicon-based life is as equal or superior to man on whatever metrics we wish to measure. All I hope is that they have compassion and love. And that ain't something that I think we can program, but we could maybe teach them through our example. So I think these robots and these dolls and these AI systems and these VR systems, they could save billions of men's lives, and our politicians need to get on board with that. All right, y'all. Peace.